Welcome to MyStockScanner Live. It's great to have you with us. If you have been following this week, you know that things are lining up and we have a lot of news for you. If not, a good idea is to subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Give us a like on Facebook and you'll get updates all along, not just with the show here, but also with the headlines that these two gents are churning out every week. Hans-Henrik Nielsen, Liam Flavelle, the two guys with the answers. And let's get into it. Hans-Henrik, just before market open in the US, Eli Lilly, the biggest competitor of Novo Nordic, came with numbers. Let's have a judgment straight off the bat. Good or bad?
Oh, it was a really good earnings report, definitely, and the weight loss drugs it's selling better than expected. So it's up and affecting Novo as well, I think.
Okay, yeah, because we see Novo is up by more than 6% right now. Is that due to Eli Lilly good numbers?
If what?
Is that due to Eli Lilly's good numbers?
Some of the rise came before Eli Lilly's numbers, but I think it's half of it about how is lifted by Eli Lilly's numbers.
And Liam, we have 4 of the Max 7 giving numbers yesterday, and sometimes they tend to sort of go in unison, which means that the one affect the other. Give us the verdict on the 4 that we got yesterday.
All strong numbers coming out. Meta has tanked a little bit. They're dropping. I'm not sure what they're dropping today, but they dropped about 6%, didn't they? 10%. Okay. Yeah. Basically, they came out and said, we're going to spend even more money on IT and data centers. Microsoft, for me, were the standout. Google, we expected to be pretty good. Microsoft kept their margins really, really good. Amazon, really strong showing as well. So, yeah, those 3 were my favorites, definitely.
And don't worry, we're going to get into more of those numbers later in the show. We're going to take them a little bit at a time because there's a lot of things to digest. And once again, welcome to the show. Today, it's all about earnings and reactions. In Denmark, Danske Bank reports solid numbers and Royal Unibrew steps up with a larger buyback program. Is that worth anything for the stock itself? We will tell you. And as said, in the spotlight were big tech last night. Meta is under pressure, as you already heard. Google delivers and showing it's all showing a split picture within that tech market. On the macro side, we had Chairman Powell step to the microphone for the very last time as chairman. He will stay on the board of Fed and we will tell what he said. Oil continues to be part of the bigger narrative. Prices are fluctuating and going high. And more earnings from Amazon and Microsoft that are doubling down on the AI spending. And as you heard here at the beginning of the show, Eli Lilly, and they are strutting impressive numbers. And question is it good for Novo? So far, it is, but of course, they're competitors, so we shall see. Number of the day, small one, or big one, depending on how you take a look at it, 2.89% of the S&P 500. Who that relates to, we'll tell you later in the show. And then let's start in Denmark with the biggest bank we can show here in Denmark, Danske Bank. And Hans-Henrik, you have been looking at their numbers. What can we say about Danske Bank? I know it's a stock that a lot of people have.
Yes, if we look at the movement today, if I can just figure out how to share my screen.
Not like you do it every day.
Oh yeah, it's such a long time since I've tried it. No, they're a bit all over the place, and actually the numbers were really good, I think. So normally when you look at a banking stock, or at a normal stock, we look at return on capital employed and to see how they're performing. With banks, it's more return on equity. And I actually have no idea why it disappeared here. Danske Bank are expecting quite a lot higher return on equity in the future. And they are also giving out more in dividends. Normally, they're paying out somewhere between 40 and 60% of their profit in dividends, but that is actually being raised to somewhere between 60 and 70%, and they're giving an extraordinary dividend of 5 billion kroner that comes due here in May. So absolutely a good Q1 earnings, I think, or at least that's my judgment. It was a tiny bit lower than last year, but that was kind of telegraphed already. As we can see, it's actually a really decent quality stock. The question is, would we buy it? And the growth in Danske Bank is not amazing. It's not one of these stocks that we would normally go for. So I would say I'm a bit on hold here. We talked about it earlier on as a good buy. Right now, I'm a bit more doubtful about it.
Before we turn our attention to Royal Unibrew, I want to bring back the trading view that you had on Danske Bank before, because we know we all look for patterns and stuff like that. And tell me one thing, Hans-Henrik, if I look at that graph right there, I see a bull flag.
Yeah, that could be. And for those thinking, why are we talking about flags all of a sudden? It could be a bull flag. It might not be completely clean, but normally you're looking at a flagpole here, then a flag. And then the rule of thumb is that if we see a break up here, then you take the length of the pole here and move up, and then that should be the new aim for the stock. But you should be careful. You can always find a different pattern here.
See, that's the thing. When you look at these drawings, you tend to see what you really want to see. And I want to bet there was a lot of stockholders out there of Danish banks or Danske Bank saying, "Oh, I see it now." Let's turn our attention to the other Danish stock coming with numbers today that we had in our, I'm almost going to say in our range, because we've been talking a lot about Royal Unibrew ever since the story about them losing Pepsi, as they are not going to distribute Pepsi anymore. In that sense, of course, it's not affecting the earnings right now, but the reception of and the communication of how they put out the numbers today, did that bear anything in sort of in conjunction with the loss of Pepsi?
No, not really. The thing is that, as you said, the other day they came out with that quite terrible news that they're losing 13% of their revenue. They'll probably get someone some other brand in they can sell. However, that resulted in a big drop. Then we had the news the other day that that they are buying back. There's a lot of insider buying. Not illegal, but that the CEO and CFO and so on are actually buying up quite a lot of their own stocks. And then today we got news that they are coming out with a new stock buyback program where they're adding, I think it's 300 million kroner. So it ends at 700 million altogether. That also lifts the stock. There is dividend today, so I'm not even sure. Yeah, if you deduct that, it's about break even. But it's ex-dividend day today on Royal Unibrew. And that news about the stock buyback is positive news for the stock, definitely.
In that sense, Hans-Henrik, and I know that we are definitely having Liam on hold right here with the tech stocks, and we're coming to them. But I'm just going to, for 1 second, ask an extra question here. That insider trade, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. Also, the buyback now. Are they trying to boost their stocks right now?
Yeah, well, I think the thing with the insider trading, it was actually a fairly large insider trade. So it was not a normal. Sometimes you see these CEOs, they try and boost the stock by going out and say, spend a couple of dollars on buying back our own stock. It was a fairly big buyback for a stock like this. So I think it's because they can see a lot of value in it, and quite nicely for them. I'm sure it came as a surprise to the management that they are starting to double the stock buyback program.
Let's just let that slide and then move along to the tech side of business. Liam is here. He is our tech expert, also expert on Eurovision and other things. I've heard sponge cake as well. But let's stick with Meta at the moment and take a look at their numbers, because Meta down 10%. Liam, are you surprised?
Not really. They came out and said, basically, as I said at the beginning, we're going to spend a lot more money, and that's an extra 5 to 10 billion more just this year. So that was quite an interesting omission just in itself. It comes at a time when they're having to spend hugely on this stuff, because they're sort of running behind all the others. They had a model Llama last year, and it didn't. The latest version of it didn't quite get to the standard that Google Gemini got to quite quickly, Anthropic got to, and OpenAI. So that's where they're playing catch up in here. They're playing a different game as well in here, where they're focusing their AIs on their own ad system.
Exactly, and I was going to bring that up because the ad system, they have been really quick at sort of utilizing AI towards the ad side of things. How come they don't get benefit from it?
They do. If you look at their ads, it's their ads. Basically, they're using AI to hugely target and go down to sort of pinpoint precision. That if you place an ad onto Facebook or onto Instagram somewhere or in their network, it's going to find the right people that you want to get to, compared to if you put it onto Google or another ad network like that. So that's where they're really, really strong, and their advertising revenue has been pretty good because of that. And we use them ourselves, and we know the ability they've got to do these things. As a whole, as a valuation, they're definitely my least favorite. You can see just from the playbook point of view, all of the stocks that reported last night, the Mag 4, they're obviously incredibly high quality. You see earnings per share growth going up as well. But if we switch to the valuations, it's a tale of two companies, really. Sort of when you look at Meta versus Google. Meta are languishing down, sort of, they're right at the bottom. They have gone up in the last month or so, but their curve going upwards isn't as steep. There is some profit ability there, but they're not as steep in what we're looking at. And that 10% drop today will bring them down, down to around here, somewhere like that. So it hasn't really moved the needle too much.
Can I ask then, in regards to, just really quickly, because I want to put on a Google video in a sec, but isn't it a buy the dip situation? I mean, 10% down, they must be right at the bear case right there.
A year ago, I'd have agreed with you. But right now, what we're seeing is these companies being punished because they're not delivering the goods, and that's effectively the shareholders in Meta are going to be saying, "Why are you spending 145 billion of our money this year on doing something? When are we going to see a return?" So it's an age-old question. It's been around for the last 9 months. They need to sort of come up with that answer quite quickly, and just saying our ad revenue is increasing by X is probably not enough for investors.
And then let's switch over to what you were alluding to, that we were going to talk about Alphabet, or Google, of course, because they have two ticker codes on the stock exchange. The story behind their numbers, you want to give a verdict? You want to give a grade for them?
They were awesome numbers. I'd give them definitely more than a C, which is pretty much what I got at school, and I thought that was good. So that's fine.
You're not right.
That was the beer, because you forgot about me being the beer expert. I mean, I should have done that.
That's true. Eurovision too. So let's go back to Google then.
Google had a fantastic term. So when you look at these companies now, they're Google has search, obviously, and they have advertising and things like that, and that drives a huge amount of business, and that's going well. When you look at what's really driving their future value of their business, it's their cloud, it's their AI. Gemini is very well thought of out there. It's also incredibly cheap compared to all the other models. That will change, and that is changing as we speak, but I think they'll still go in on price. What they're also doing, their data center went up, I think it was 68%, something like that, 62% cloud a month, quarter on quarter, and that's a really strong growth. It's higher growth than the others, partly because it's starting from a lower base, so it's easier to get more traction in there, but it's still doing really, really well. And it was the third biggest. It could actually eclipse Amazon and go past Amazon in the next maybe 9 months if they have a good wind. However, Amazon did quite well, and I think we'll probably talk about that later.
We will, just in a second. First, we need to bring back Hans-Henrik from the dead here, and his best friend. Every quarter, basically, for the last couple of years, has been this guy, because you have spent many hours watching this guy having a press conference, as Hans-Henrik. Yesterday, Jeremy Powell had what is going to be his last press conference, at least as chair of the Fed, and I know that you are monitoring every word. Did he surprise you?
He was an angry man. He hid it well. He's a very diplomatic guy, but he basically told us what was on his mind, and that is that he's not satisfied with the way Trump runs the country, and he's definitely not satisfied with Trump trying to run him over with a lawsuit. So he's not stepping down as a chair, of course, but he's staying on as a governor, meaning he'll be one of the 12 voting parts in Fed. Trump didn't like that.
No, and I'm going to ask you, what can he do as an, I'm going to say, ordinary member of the Fed? What can he do?
Well, he takes up 1/12, 8% of the votes in Fed, and he has some authority, so he can sway some votes, I guess. And he wants to stay in there because if Trump come after him again with a new lawsuit, he wants the power of Fed to protect him, which is absolutely fair. So he said basically, he said yesterday that we should not expect any rate cuts this year.
All right. Well, that's definitely not probably the incoming chairman's opinion.
Nope.
We'll get to that
I think
down the
you're right.
line. Really quickly, Hans-Henrik, before we go back to the tech side, I'm looking up at my screen here, taking a look at oil. It shot up overnight. It stayed up in the morning. Now it's sort of flattening a little bit. What's going on?
It's down to 3%, something like that. Trump and US is talking something about building an alliance that should open up Hormuz. It's completely BS. It's not going to happen. And they have killed everyone in Iran that can make a decision. So right now they're trying to figure out whom in the group of 200,000 Revolutionary Guard members they should talk to. They have no idea who that is. So it's not going to open anytime soon.
It's not going to open anytime soon. I think we have a new acronym called something Nacho about the Hormuz Strait is not opening. We'll get back to that on the day we had a little better time. Now we're going to talk Amazon because I said they were lining up yesterday, Liam, the Mac 4 of the Mac 7, and Amazon and Microsoft are the two that we're going to take a focus of now. Let's start with Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon
had them again, a C or...
No, I reckon they're definitely a D plus, maybe no. They actually had a really good quarter. Last quarter they were hammered a bit because their growth in cloud was slacking. But what they've done now, so it's actually gone up. It's 38%, something like that, quarter on quarter. So it's actually started going back up. The very clever thing they've done now is they've positioned themselves. They have Anthropic, which caused a massive boost in their bottom line on the Amazon Web Services. So they did the deal with that. So Claude is in there, is embedded. They've just done a deal with OpenAI, and I expect that to do the same thing. So I expect really, really good things of Amazon over the next few months. I'm just looking at the stats, and they've just agreed to buy 1 million chips from NVIDIA over the next 18 months, something like that. So NVIDIA is obviously dropping 4.5% on the news because it's obviously bad news for them. So I think that's just a reaction to people sort of thinking, do we take some profits off the table after the run recently? But Amazon very, very strong. Let's just show you the value chart very quickly, where we can see we've got it's a high quality company. You can take it from me.
Yeah,
so
but you're looking at Microsoft. You're showing Microsoft.
We're looking at Microsoft. Now. Let's look at this one. Amazon had a really good, and they're up 12%. So they're up here. I think this is mainly on looking at the OpenAI possibilities. So what's happening at the moment is all these companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, they're starting to increase their prices by about between 4 and 5 times we were looking at today, and that's going to hit the bottom line coming in here, and they're going to earn more money from this. So that's what's happening. Is there as much upside for Amazon? Unfortunately not. They've had a good run recently, but it's sort of anyone who's in it at the moment, is probably in for a good run going forward a little bit more. We wouldn't buy right now. We'd wait for a bit of a dip to come down. But if you're in it, then that was a good call about a month ago.
It was, and they're dropping 1.8% in the market today. Again, sometimes we scratch our heads and say some profit taking is definitely going on if with the jump that they had. And then we switch screens and we're going to go look at Microsoft. It just seems like they can't really, they seem like a falling monkey down to the threes at the moment right now, and they can't catch a branch. They're down again today, about 5.3% at this second.
That's a strange one, I must admit, because out of all of them, Google had a really strong time. So they are sort of the ones to beat when you compare all of these four. However, Microsoft are a very, very close second. And the reason I say that, the big thing about Microsoft and the reason they've dropped is twofold. One of them is that people think that companies can come in with AI and replace some of the Microsoft technology and the software in there, because they are at heart a software company, or they were a software company. I think that's complete and utter rubbish. I've said it a number of times. The ecosystem in Microsoft is second to none. The real thing that investors have got the problem with Microsoft is they haven't really got the most coherent AI strategy. Copilot is sort of, is it a proper AI? Is it someone else's AI? What are you using? So that's where the issue comes in. However, they're starting to get traction. They've gone from 15 million users globally to 20 million in the last quarter. So that's a 33% rise. So that's where they're starting to get some traction in the enterprise. They've invested in Anthropic. They've got OpenAI investments still. They're still in bed with them and they're still important for them. And they've got their own models. So actually, good one to watch. And who knows?
We'll definitely keep an eye out for it for sure, because it's one of those that we are just, let's just say that we are waiting for it. And as soon as it moves and we see the big elephants go after it, then we know that we're going to jump on those elephants and take it for a ride, hopefully. And again, stock ideas that we bring up in our show is, of course, not a reason to buy. Do your own due diligence, do the research just like we do, and see if it's anything for your portfolio. Hans-Henrik, Eli Lilly, I look at it right now, 8.6% up.
Yeah,
that
looks really good.
That elephant we should have jumped.
No, because it was under 200-day moving average, and so we never take the stocks under here. Well, never. We just took 2 actually, but that was in a bit of a special case. So normally downtrend here we don't take it. Right now it's above 200. Let's see where it goes. It came out with earnings. They were good. They are selling a lot of their GLP-1 products, and that is what the world wants to hear. The thing is that normally when we have seen good news from Eli Lilly, it has been bad news for Novo. It has been something about where their weight loss drug is better than Novo's or something like that. So we have seen Eli Lilly shoot up and then Novo down, or the other way around. But actually today, what we are seeing,
6.3% up for
Novo is being carried a bit here today. Up around the city target that we talked about the other day. The thing is, and that is an interesting case here, if we're looking at Eli Lilly on a value chart, it's a good quality company. We can see here earnings is exploding upwards, a really good quality score, revenue going up, and they good positive cash flow and good interest coverage and everything. The thing people should realize here is the value, the channel of this value graph, because that is going up a lot, and that is due to the earnings here going up this much. That means that we can see here Eli Lilly selling at a PE between 25 and 48. There's a really good potential in here. Looking at Novo Nordisk, they don't have the same earnings per share growth. They are under pressure right now. They have a good pipeline of products, no doubt, but a lot of that is priced in. So they're not going to grow their earnings per share. That means that since we're taking earnings per share multiplied by PE, this one gets a lot more flat. So you can say, is it fair that the PE is only somewhere between 13 and 21 here? Well, normally people are paying high PEs for companies that grow a lot. And right now, Novo Nordisk is not growing a lot. So yes, there might be some potential, but we like the value chart of Eli Lilly better. Oh, you need some sound, Jesper. How could you forget?
He's the expert, isn't he?
He's the expert, and he should know to click his sound. But it's just it's fascinating when you guys go at it and you explain complicated things in a very easy to understand manner. Love that. That's why we do this show here. And as said, here was a face-off. It was almost a Thursday face-off in regards to two stocks being pitted together one another. We're gonna do another face-off tomorrow. Of course, it's Friday. We have a Friday face-off there. We are almost running out of time. We have number of the day that we want to tell about, because it is super interesting. Number of the day is 2.89%.
Just stole the screen here.
Yeah, thank you. Don't do that. You should be the expert now. 2.89% of the S&P 500. That is if the IPO of SpaceX goes according to plan. That's how much it would take up with the S&P 500. And if you look carefully, we also put on OpenAI. They will take up almost 1.7%. And then we put in Anthropic as well as a IPO. 0.6%. All put together, basically 5% of the S&P 500 is, I won't say ringing the doorbell, but they could be very, very soon. Guys, what does that mean for the market if 5% of the S&P 500 has to be diverted into 3 new stocks?
I think it's even worse because Anthropic is just being valued at over OpenAI, so that's going to be 1.3, 1.4% as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to liquidity in that one. It's who takes the money from where, and who loses out of this one.
And
Hans-Henrik, you said something about ETFs when we had our meeting today.
Yes, ETFs, for instance, SPY, they are covering S&P 500. There are billions and billions, trillions even put into these ETFs. They have to mirror S&P 500. So if there's a new constituent in there, like SpaceX, then they need to divert capital from some of the other stocks and down to that. So that could steal some money from them. Also, normally it takes somewhere between 1 and 2 years to be accepted in S&P 500 and NASDAQ. But for some strange reason, that is probably has nothing to do with trillions and trillions of dollars. Both NASDAQ and S&P 500 have put SpaceX on a fast track to get into the system. So of course,
company have. And I think it's about time that we call them up and say that we are thinking about an IPO as well, and can we get on that fast track to $1 trillion? That's not how it works. Okay.
Well, you can try. It's
We, believe it or not, we still have lots of earnings coming this week because both right now new numbers are coming in. You saw it from Eli Lilly. We have other numbers. Amongst those on the dock is SanDisk, and that is one that's worth seeing because they have been shooting up over the last couple of months. They're coming with numbers. Western Digital, also Reddit, Apple, many others coming with numbers later today. So it's not over, far from it yet. Be sure to watch us on Tuesday at 4 o'clock when Liam is back with Tech Tuesday. And of course, keeping an eye out for anything related to that. Danish show we have in 32.5 minutes. Hans-Henrik and I will be around and go through the numbers once again. And we get to close the Danish market and see where it all ends. As said, Novo is having a fine day, 5.8% up at this moment. But English show Tuesday. Liam, good to see you, my friend, and we will see you in a little over 4 days. For now, thanks for watching us. Remember to give us a like on Facebook and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Have a continuous good Thursday. See you guys.